Moving on to Tamburlaine, how did you find the process of writing Tamburlaine compared to your first novel? Was it easier, more difficult? It was like a commission.
Yeah, in a sense, I think when I was writing The Cutting Room, obviously, I found it difficult, and I had the commission for that as well, really. But I'd written a third of it. I was given an advance, which was fantastic because it meant I could concentrate on writing the book. But of course, it's quite stressful because you don't know, is it going to be all right? Spent the money, well, I want it back, all that stuff. I comforted myself, though, when I was writing The Cutting Room with the idea that once I had written a novel, I would then know how to do it, and it would be all right. And I was horrified to find out that that's not the way that it worked, that each one was a different process. And I actually started writing another book when I finished The Cutting Room. It was a book that's still never seen the light of day. I think I just fired in far too quickly, and I had a lot of ideas, but I didn't really have a central story structure, anything that I wanted to say. So it was a relief to start writing Tamburlaine Must Die, and I think I stepped back again. It was a book that required research. I had to do a lot of reading. I had to do a lot of thinking. I had to wander around places. I had to go and see plays, look at pictures, all of that kind of thing. And I think to an extent it was a relief to step away from the page for a moment and gather my thoughts, and then be able to come back with a completely different setting, completely different person, and to an extent a different use of language, and the structure was different. So in the end, when I started to write, it was a great pleasure. I really enjoyed writing that book, and the problems that it presented were very stimulating. So I've got kind of happy memories of writing that, but I think the period before was more one of panic and
So you get into it.
Yeah.
I think that love certainly comes out in it, and I think you can tell that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun, and I've got serious intentions within it. I worked really hard on it. Of course, everybody has to work hard on these things, but to an extent, there's a romp element about it that was fun for me.
Absolutely. Besides Marlowe's own work, in terms of the reading that you did, what writing contemporary to Marlowe was most helpful in terms of getting a voice, in terms of getting yourself into that period?
Goodness, it's hard to remember now, actually, because I do remember finding somebody and I can't remember his name at all, which is hard. I read his playwriting contemporaries, I guess. I went back to Shakespeare, which is just good fun. I went back and read the plays that I wanted to read, so Macbeth, Hamlet, all the ones that you would expect me to be attracted to, the bloody ones, the miserable ones. I don't think I read I didn't read A Midsummer's Night's Dream, for instance. I read Ben Jonson, Thomas Kidd, of course, and I read sort of voices from that period, histories from that period as well. And I also had a very big historical dictionary that I wandered through and would take words and phrases from. It was very enjoyable. And I limited my reading to that. I limited my reading to Marlowe's contemporaries, histories of that period, and my big dictionary of slang, which I think at that point, if I'd been invited on a desert island, I would have taken my dictionary of historical slang. I fell in love with it.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. William Wilson, as a character, has a much less confident personality than either Rilke or Tamburlaine's Marlowe. What drew you to write about a character so aware of his own failure?
It's a strange one, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's not a self-help book or a book with a message, but I think it's kind of important that it's when William starts to act that things change for him. And this lack of confidence, which I think is quite classic in people that get up on the stage, people that perform and pull this amazing personality out of the bag, and then when you meet them afterwards, and I don't know if it's a reaction to being on the stage. I certainly come away from readings thinking, God, yeah, I wish I'd said this, I wish I'd said that, I wish I'd done that. So maybe it's just when you meet an actor immediately afterwards, I think there can sometimes be something quite marked about the change in energy that they have. They've put so much out there. And this idea that a lack of confidence can be quite destructive, actually. And I think traditionally in Scottish culture, it's been something that sort of runs through a lot of our culture, and I think I blame the Scottish education system, which I think in the past was focused on telling people a lot of the time at a particular level, telling people to shut up. And people, I don't have children, I'm not intimately involved with the education system now, but my impression is that for all it could be improved, for all that it could be made better, that teachers actually are trying to make children more confident and are giving them voices that enable them to stand up and speak to an audience, or to stand up and be able to question something. And I think this ability to question is hugely important, that we can empower people. And I went through the state education system. You know, it's fine. It served me well in the end. But I think that it's maybe something that public schools get better than the state schools traditionally. This confidence, and in Scotland, I think sometimes we do find confidence a bit obnoxious. I think the thing is, we don't want to make people obnoxious. We don't want to make them tread all over everybody. But you do want to give children from whatever background the idea that they can achieve, they can make it. It'll serve them better, and it'll serve the country better as well.
Yep.
Serve us in our old age.
Absolutely. And they keep us in our old age. Which came first, William's character or the story?
I think the story came first, and not even the story actually, the final image, the central image of the man with the gun and the abandoned warehouse, and the feeling that he has, the feeling of disaster, the kind of that was what came first, really. And I started to write, and I wrote. It was the first book that I sort of wrote my way into. I started to write and to write and to write and to write, and I wrote about 20,000 words, and then I began to feel that I'd got there. So I actually started the book when William was 11. I'd written a lot of scenes from his early life that were unnecessary, but it wasn't my intention, but it seems to have been the only way to, at that point, for me to get into him.
And is that something that you've ever done before? Because I mean, certain writers do that a lot and then just lose big chunks of it, and they need to do that. But
I certainly cut, classically that thing where you cut the opening often, because I think you are coming to grips with your idea or whatever. But I'd never written so much, and apart from the novel I've abandoned, of course, I'd never quite written that amount and thrown it away.